2 months, which, you know, every other weekend we'll see each other online. Um, Personally, I really, you know, would like to meet everybody in person because it would be easier for me to convert the info, you know, the transfer the information, and also I can see people's reaction. You know, if somebody is snoring or my stuff gets too boring. But anyhow, I understand that based on the information that Venerable Kong Yan gave me, and she's very helpful, uh, you know, with the process. So we did have a meeting with the university coordinator, then, you know, which let me understand a little bit what are the requirements. So I sent out the syllabus. I assume that everybody had that information, the syllabus. Am I correct or not?
Yes.
Okay, good. So I did, you know, make some changes on the file that I posted. At the beginning, I thought that, you know, I can switch back and forth, which I understand I can do that. But it would be a little bit difficult for people to focus if I keep on switch from the PPT to the Word. So that's why, at, you know, almost like 2 days ago, I decided to redo the arrangement. So try to put more information on the PPT than the Word, other than, you know, the sutras that I cannot do that because it would be a huge, you know, PPT. So for those, then we might go back to the Word. But I did send out the file for reading. So when, you know, when there is information, then I would go through. I assume that everybody can access to Slack. Am I correct? Yeah, okay, good. So just to go over a little bit on the syllabus, this is what I put out. So according to the university, they have certain requirements, like they would like to, by the end of this course, that these are the outcomes they are expecting. Like we are able to introduce the Chinese Tipitaka or the Chinese canon, because it is the most voluminous, you know, vast, a lot of information in the Tipitaka, and it is the most vast volume in the world so far. Then, you know, we'll be able to explain the value of these works or texts, and then how it influenced, based, you know, especially in the Eastern Buddhist culture, in the Asian culture. And then we are expect to examine the short discourses and passages from certain sutra. Then, you know, we'll be able to explain what are the core teaching or core concept. How does it work? How does it relate it to the teaching of the Buddha? Then we'll be able to describe these passages. So, and then I know that, you know, since this is academic, so we have to talk about the evaluation, right? This is the third semester. I assume that, you know, those registered students already aware that there are 40% homework and 60% on the final. So, and then we expect 75% of the attendance. Now, I'll draw, you know, produce the final questions at the end. But, you know, the university has the right to override or change or edit, you know, whatever question that I put out. But the 40%, it's all on our own, okay? Initially, I was thinking about I'll explain it later. But the 40%, they require, I was thinking about, multiple choices, but when we talked to Pante, he said that, it's better to do it in an essay format. And I believe that Venerable Kongyan put out a format for us to follow. So this is a 4-credit course with a total of 60 hours. And these are the dates. Okay. So we did have a schedule that let's go back to that later. Put out with the time slot. We'll go back to that. So just a little bit introduction on what are we going to cover for within the 60 hours. We have an introduction to the entire Chinese canon, the Tipitaka. Okay, just the introduction, historical background, how it comes around, who are the translators, so on and so forth. So it's an overview, an overall introduction. Then we go to Nikaya and Agama. Again, we would like to share some information about, what are Nikaya, what are Agama, what are their differences, what are their similarity, where do they come from which school, all those overview introductions. Then we go into 2 sutras. One is the SN 22.57, the other one is MN 118. Now for MN 118, I believe that we are not strange to that. It's called the Honeyball Sutra. I believe that, I think I did 2 talks on that topic in Maba also. So this is something that we are very familiar with. The reason I choose those 2, first of all, they both appear in Nikaya and also in Agama. Nikaya is the Pali Canon, we all know that. Agama is more translated from Sanskrit to the ancient Chinese language. So both sutra appear, in Nikaya and Agama. Now, initially, I was thinking shall I choose one that is in Nikaya and not in Agama, or vice versa? So, but then when I look at the requirement, they said that, in accordance with. So that's the reason I choose those 2. Another reason that I choose 2 is that on SN 22.57, it's about the aggregates. And it's a very, very important sutta that we should learn. Again, MN 118 is another very important thing. It's dealing with the mental factors, okay? When we go down the road, it's going to help us understand a little bit easier, if not more, that, how mentally a human being functions. Because when we get to Abhidhamma, when we get to Yogacara, when we get to, even in the Lotus Sutra, okay, the Tathagata GABA, all those are dealing with mental factors. So that's the reason I choose those 2. Now, like I mentioned, there are some sutras in the Agama, some sutras in the Nikaya, they don't match up because some appear in one tradition, the other one didn't. For example, about emptiness. In the Pali Canon, it's called sunya. So emptiness, there is a very important sutra. It's SN 335, if I remember correctly. That is dealing with emptiness, but that's in the Agama side. Very short one, very precise, very deep, very profound. Okay, so there are two related to emptiness in the Nikaya. There are two sutras about sunya in the Nikaya. So I was debating, but if I want to go into those two sutras, honestly, about 3-4 years. So I decided not to do it. Okay, so that is, I'm explaining why am I, choosing those two. Those two are very related because, this is the body and mind, and this is what happened in the mind. So the next group will be Prajna Paramita. Again, we are not strange or not unfamiliar to those, other than the first one. Okay, so again, some introduction. And then this one, I can't even pronounce. I'll try. Asta Saharika Prajna Paramita Sutra. Make it easier. It's called the 8,000 verses on the Prajna Paramita, on the perfect wisdom. This is assigned if you look at the syllabus, but this is very important too, because this is the first translated Prajna Paramita from Sanskrit to the Chinese canon, the first one. And we won't go into very deep in this one, but at least we know that what it's talking about, how the Sutras come along, how the Diamond Sutra come along. Okay, the Prajna Paramita Sutras, huge. Okay, it's volume after volume after volume, so it's very huge. So then the next two, the Sutra we know, right? I even picked the Maba chanting book to review on that Heart Sutra. Diamond Sutra, very interesting, very, very interesting. So I pull, by the way, the first one, the 8,000 verses, there is a very good book by Edward Cones, okay? I just got it from Amazon. Very interesting. It doesn't have any commentary or explanation. It's just direct translation. So the Diamond Sutra, I based on, oops, what did I do? Okay. I based on Venerable Master Insun's discourse on Prajna Paramita Sutra. Okay. He specifically gave two discourses, one on Heart Sutra, the other one on Diamond Sutra. Okay, so the next one would be the Sanhinimo China. Okay, it's easier for me to speak in Chinese. It's called 解生密经. Okay, so it's the exposition of the secret, okay, of the Buddha's teaching. It's the first sutra, not commentary, on the school of Yogacara, okay. Vasubandhu, Asanga, many of the Yogacara school great teachers actually quote the teaching on that. Other than the other one is called the Yogacara Sastra, Bhumi Sastra, but that's a Sastra. That's not a sutra. Then I will go over what are the differences. Next one, this is the one that a lot of information, very tedious, very detailed, but very important, the Abhidhamma Kosa, okay? And when I start with, I was thinking about, why don't I put all Abhidhamma Kosa? It's not part of the Yogacara, okay? Don't mix that up. So at the beginning, I was thinking about maybe put all the Yogacara school together, but then I reconsidered it. I rather put Vasubandhu together. So Abhidhamma Kosa by Vasubandhu, the going on, the 20 verses, 30 verses are, from Vasubandhu. So I decided to put them together. And you can see the change, the thinking stream of Vasubandhu, because at the beginning he was what we call the Hinayana practitioner. Then because of his brother Asanga, he switched to Mahayana. So, but we will go all over that. Very fortunate, we have Don actually agreed to be our guest speaker because he is the expert on 成为诗论, the B here. I'm trying to have this annotation. Okay, see if I can do that. Okay. Can you guys see the light at all? No. Oh.
You trying to get your little laser pointer again?
Yeah, I try to get that. Okay.
There it is.
Oh, okay. Thank you. That's good. That's good. Okay, this one B here, 成为诗论, it's Don. It's going to teach that as our guest speaker. So then the 20 verse, the 30 verse. Next one, this is called the Lion's World of Queen Sumara Sutra. Okay, the core teaching is about Tathagata Gaba. Okay, the Buddha nature. So then we go to Pure Land. If you ask the question, how does Pure Land fit into, the entire sequence? Are you guys familiar with the Chan lineage? With Bodhidharma and then Hui Ke, all the way to Hui Neng, right? Okay, so the fourth patriarch is Dao Xin, right? Parallel to Dao Xin, that is the what we call Don has been leading that the Niu Tou Fa Rong, the ox head Fa Rong. Remember, we have that. So this is just like a branch out of this sequence. It's a special school, but it's almost the most popular in parallel to Chan school. Then, okay, it comes the Lotus Sutra. Okay, let's think about the Buddha nature, the Tathagata Gaba. It says, what is the basic teaching on that is that, all beings, all sentient beings, actually it says all beings that have Buddha nature. Because of what? Because of our ignorance, we cover that Buddha nature. All we need is just wipe out the dust, and then the Buddha nature will reveal. Now, we don't have Chan school here, or Hui Neng will come out and say that there is no mirror, where comes the dust, but that's another story. So then it comes to the Lotus Sutra. If we talk about the Lotus Sutra, we have to do two things. One, we have to introduce 智义, 智者大师, okay, master 智义. Two, we have to talk about 天台 school. If we don't do those two, you're just reading the sutra. Okay, so we have to understand through those two factors to really actually understand the Lotus Sutra. The major of the Lotus Sutra is say that whether you practice Hinayana, Mahayana, Bodhisattva, everybody is included. Everything is embraced. Okay, that's the goal of the Lotus Sutra. So, and then, when he said that, everybody has embraced it, so nobody argues, right? Then I shut up because that's the end of the class. Okay. So here is the homework assignment format, produced by Venerable Kong Yan. So everybody follow it. Now, we will go to the homework assignment. Okay, homework. Originally, I divided the homework assignment into 3 parts because based on the material. The first one would be including the introduction, agama, prajna, paramita. Okay, and I put like 10% on it. Then the other one is the Yogacara school, the commentaries, Abhidhamma Kosa, and I lumped that together and put out like 15%. You should receive that, right? You guys should receive that. I think I posted that. Let's see. Yeah, I think I posted that. Okay. And then I put like the Tathagata Kappa, 5 points. Okay. Then the Pure Land and Lotus, another 10 points. But by the time we get to the Lotus Sutra, it would be about September, almost the end of the class. So if I assign, I understand that you guys have class follow. So if I assign that essay at the end of the class, then you have to extend it to, when the next course starts. So I decided not to do that. So I divided the homework assignment into two parts. One, the first one, same thing, but I put a little bit more weight on, like instead of 10%, 10 points, I put 20 points there. So it will be including the introduction, the agama, the prajna paramita. Okay, so that would be 20%. Then the Abhidhamma, 20, 30 verses, Yogacara. So I put that another 20%. So there are 2 essays. Okay. Each one, like the first one, would be, the 20% would be about 5 pages of essay. Okay. And then I'm almost ready with the questions. So I would try to do 3 questions and you choose one to write on. Fair enough? Okay. And then the next one, I have to separate into 15 and 5. The reason is I cannot lump the Sihang Simahanda. I cannot lump that, the Tathagata, into the Yogacara. Okay. It's a separate entity. It's a separate concept. Even though it's pretty much related, but only the 5%, about 2 pages. Okay. Then the other one would be 15% on the Yogacara, Abhidhamma, and then the 20, 30 verses. So that's how I divide it. I believe that, after you finish the essay, you need to send it to me individually. So I try to put out the essay the question as soon as possible. So the first one, probably the week after, on the 16th, give you 1 week to work on on 5 pages. It won't be too difficult. So I would like to share with you how I do my essay when I was taking the master class, the Buddhist study. I would write down the key points, which I'll give it to you. Just point out some of the key points. So I write down the key points, then you expand from there. So it would be, at least that there is something related that you want to expand, on those key points. So that's the assignment. One thing very important that I assume everybody can access to Slack. Okay, I just learned how to do that. So I'll post handout notes because this is the beginning. I kind of debating on what are the formats. So I updated the slides, but hopefully from now on I don't have to do that because I have I now have a direction of whether do I want to do slide or want to do word format. So if you have any question, you can post it on the Slack. Watch out for any announcement, or you can email me, directly. But check your Slack from time to time. Now, for those friends that are not registered, but only audit, you're welcome to work on the homework also. I will, I would go over it. You're welcome to ask questions also. You're welcome to share your viewpoint. So let's now, I'm trying to get to another. Okay, can you see that? Can everybody see the
We see a Buddha for the slide one. You may have to switch what you're sharing. I don't know.
Let me see, how do I switch? Okay, resume share. Can you see it? No?
No, what do you what file are you trying to share?
I'm trying to share the schedule.
Okay.
So how do I get back to that? Okay, how about okay, maybe I stop sharing first.
Yeah, that works too. And then share it again. I have to try to process in my brain how a Mac does it. So.
Okay, here we go. Okay. Yeah, I might have to do that. Now, can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. You see the spreadsheet, right?
Yeah, we all see it.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Okay. So this is the spreadsheet on the schedule that I was talking about. I would try very much to be on time on the schedule. So far we are still doing okay. So we will start with the question and answers. Any question so far about the syllabus, the requirements, homework, anything at all?
There was a couple in chat. Kong Zhang wanted, where was it? If there will be examples for the essay, I guess, is what is being asked.
Okay.
And if you open up the chat.
I did.
Okay, at 8:48, I can't pronounce that word. She was wondering what it was in Chinese.
I see give us example. Okay, I see. Sorry, I can't do it without my eyeglass. Okay. For example, I would ask the question like, compare Agama and Nikaya. Okay. So if you will, when we go along with the course, you will see there is a chart. Agama on one hand, Nikaya on the other hand, or vice versa. Okay. And you see that, okay, Nikaya is from the Pali Canon. Agama will be from the Chinese Canon. Okay. So there are 5 Nikaya, there are 4 Agama. And we'll list like the Digha Nikaya as equivalent to the long discourse on Agama. So there is this differences. Okay. So if I ask the question that compare Agama with Nikaya, then, you'll be able to explain what are the differences and the similarities. Fair? Make sense? Would that be a good example?
I'm waiting to see if, yes.
Okay, good. Next question. Lee, how will we get homework assignments? Slack. Yes, I will post it on the Slack. And when you turned in, then you email it to me. After I, make corrections or comments, I will email it back to you. Okay? If not, share in class. Oh, okay. Homework, share in class. I think after I make some corrections, if you're willing to share, we can discuss, because we have discussing time, in class. So would that work?
If you guys have microphones, you're more than welcome to chime in instead of in the chat. It might be a little bit more organized.
Sounds okay with me.
Good. So after we finish every topic, I set aside Q&A and discussion. So at that time, we can do some, and then the first homework won't do until at the end of this month. Okay. I'll try to post it as soon as possible. I'm thinking about maybe, sometime this week. Not this week. Today is Saturday. Sometime next week, so that you have, plenty of time. Like I said, what I did when I do my homework is, do my essay is like, I list all the points and then I start from there. It will be a little bit easier that way. Okay, oop, what's going on? Okay, all right. So these are, today and tomorrow, hopefully by the end of tomorrow, we have about, like I set aside 2 hours for the Daxing Bora, the Esther Sa, I can never pronounce this. Astasaharika Prajna Paramita. Okay, hopefully that we can, go over. I won't go into detail because, when you read that, you will, the reason that I put that out, and then it's not the entire book. I just select 2 passages from there to show you that, how it related to the Heart Sutra. What are the differences, from that to the Heart Sutra or the Diamond Sutra? We'll see that. So if no more question, we will get into serious business then. Because when I'm doing that, I have like different screens. Okay, I can go out of this word. Screen sharing stop. Okay. Then let's go into this one. Guess what? I'm getting a little bit better. Okay. The only problem is I can't get to, okay, here we go. Can you guys see the slide?
Yep. Yeah, we can see it.
The big Buddha?
Yep.
Okay. Now I start with this sutta, SN 56.31, for a reason. It's called the Simsapa leaves. And then it's got like 1, 2, 3, 4 slides. 1, 2, 3, 4 slides to I just put the entire sutra on that. One day, the Buddha was walking in the forest with his disciples, and he grabbed a whole bunch of leaves on his hand. Familiar? Have you heard about that? Okay. So he asked his disciples and say that, what do you think, because that would the leaves in my hand more compared to the forest? So his disciples answered that, of course, the leaves in this forest is much, 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 way much more than those in your hand, sir. So I put out this to send a message that what we are learning is not even a little bit out of those leaves in the Buddha's hand. Okay. The Buddha expounded in his 45 or 49 years of teaching 84,000 of discourses. And his discourses, it's very precise. It's not like the commentary, okay? We will find out, what are the differences between the sutra or sutta compared to the commentary or the sastras. We'll find out later on, and I have like tables to show that. So then this course, the syllabus, remember we were supposed to be able to talk about the Chinese canon. And the Chinese canon is the most vast volume or in amount compared to other tradition. So that is the reason why I put out this sutra, just to show that, how wide and profound and vast of the Chinese canon or Chinese Tipitaka. So to begin with, let's do a little bit of introduction. Because I'm on a different page now. Okay. Now, in the Buddha's time, people practice. We know that his disciple practice, in accordance to their interest and faculty. So these are the choices they can do. They can either be a Dhammahara, which, they can memorize verification, select and collect Buddha's teaching. one example, can anybody tell me who is this disciple is doing that?
Ananda.
Yes, yes. Ananda. He's the Buddha's personal attendant, PA, right? So his memorization is number one, okay? And then at the end of the first council, he was the one who recites all those discourses and being verified by 500 arahats, okay? So, but then they can choose another route and say that I will be a Vinaya Hara. So what they do is they facilitate. I think Venerable maybe know much better than I. Facilitate the Sangha assembly and function as a judge. I think every month they have an assemble to recite the the precepts, right? Am I correct? And then they repent if they did something wrong. So those are what we call the Vinaya Hara. And then they can choose to be a Dhamma Katika, who arrange, select, differentiate, systemize the Buddha's teaching according to the subject or concepts. Those are what we call the commentators, okay? But they are not just, making comments on that. They actually has to, compile, how to categorize and systemize. So, and then the next one is called Panaka. Those are the people who chant, okay? And don't think that chanting is not important. Chanting is going to reinforce the memory, okay? It's part of, and then stimulate the brain, the mind to memorize. And then the next one is called Yogaka. So those are ascetic practices who are meditators. Now, the Yogaka it's close to the Chan masters, okay? All right, so let's talk about what are the differences of the sutra and the commentary. So sutra is actually come first before the commentary. Of course, the Buddha has to give teaching before people can comment on it, right? And then the sutta or sutra are discourses, direct discourses. That is a very questionable or arguable, okay? People were saying that if the discourse is not spoken by the Buddha, it's not the sutra, okay? But then later on, we have different different scholars, different traditions view it differently, okay? So, but then in general, sutta or sutra are discourses of the Buddha because he answered in accordance to the need of the practitioner, and mainly it's for the practice. Now, commentaries, sastras, like we just introduced, it's a arranging, selection, connection. It include similes, it include the accounting of the Buddha's life, causality, and it explains and it comment on the sutta or sutra and arrange them systematically. Okay, so this is based on Venerable Master Insun's discourse that he actually put out the sutra and vijnana as versus the sastra of the commentary. So Very, very good teaching. I really like that. It's so clear that it gives you the idea of, like, you know, if it's a sutra, then it's a teaching giving in response to the capability of the practitioner. But the discipline was set in response to the necessity. Now, one example for the discipline to be set, I don't remember exactly which, but it's in the Pali Canon. There is a sutta talking about, you know, one of the bhikkhus, the disciples doing something that is attracting, like he's hanging himself on the tree or doing something weird. So then the Buddha saw that, and then he make a rule and saying that, you know, the bhikkhus are not supposed to climb on the tree. Okay, so those are when it's necessary. Then Buddha would say that, okay, let's set this rule. So those are vijnana. Sastra, on the other hand, is categorized by topic or concept of the Buddha's teaching. So first is the Buddha's teaching, then to either his disciple or somebody truly understand what the Buddha's teaching, make a comment, make an explanation, and try to put it in a way that is very systematic. For one instance that we are going, you know, the one that we are going to study would be the Abhidhamma Kosa. You will see so systemized, so detailed that, oh my goodness, when we come to that, we'll deal with it. So, and then these are, you know, Venerable Master Insun actually list, you know, 5 items that explain the differences. I would say it's very important to know the differences. Okay, so the vijnana, we don't deal with it in this course very much so, but just to let us have a glimpse, some understanding. Here it's what's going on with the you know, the vijnana. Just you know, to tell you what is the differences from the Theravadan and the Mahayana. You know, what are the precepts that, you know, because when we get to the Bodhisattva precept, it's totally different from the not totally, but, you know, there are what they call, how do I say it in English, open up, you know, there are leeways to deal with it. But, you know, this is not within our course. So here we go. Historical background. We all know that Buddhism comes from somewhere near the Ganges River, right? There is a guy walking up and down the Ganges River for 45 years, teaching us, you know, how to get out of suffering, how to end this endless circle of rebirth, right? So, and this respected original teacher. So this map, if we talk about Mahayana and I hate to use the word Hinayana, but, you know, sometimes it's unavoidable. Savaka, it's, yeah, maybe use the Savaka, the word Savaka. So I'm getting my lights. And I'm not getting my lights. Okay, here we go. Here. We know that, you know, this is the where the Ganges River is, right? Around Nepal and also India, northern India. So these are the places or cities like Magadha, like Savasti, Kosala, you know, those areas that Buddha preached, gave sermon. Then where does Mahayana comes from? You know, again, later on we'll go into that, but let's look at the map first. Now, the Buddha's teaching cannot cross the Himalayas at that time. So what happened is they have to take a long way, all the way from across the Eastern Asia, Central Asia, and then all the way down to Chang'an, which was the capital at the time. So here's Luoyang, here's Chang'an, okay? And then from there, it kind of spread to Japan, Korea, and then down south to Cambodia, to Vietnam, mainly to Vietnam, actually. Cambodia, it's a mix. It's more Theravadan than Mahayana. So the red lines here are the Mahayana transmission, okay? The blue line here are the Theravadan. Sorry, the green line are the Theravadan. The blue line are the what they call the Tantric, which are the Tibetan, more like the Tantric. So you can see how it goes, okay? I would keep this map, you know, with us most of the time because, you know, in that way we'll be able to understand that how Buddhism came to China, and how that from China spread out to, you know, other places. So that's that. Here it's a more, you know, bigger arrows. So now, if we talk about Buddhism coming to China, we cannot avoid talking about the councils or the assemblies of the Sangha, because, you know, the Buddha is not with us anymore. I'm trying to do something. Do you guys want a break before we go into that?
Yeah, we can if you want.
Okay, it's kind of cramping a lot of information. Let's take, usually, how long would the break be?
About 15.
15, okay, right now my clock is 9:25.
So 9:40.
9:40, okay,
Yeah.
okay. That we have Upali, one of Buddha's great disciples, chanted the Vijnana, and we have Venerable Ananda chanted the Sutta. So the question comes that, who chanted the Abhidhamma? So all depends on, you know, scholars have different viewpoints. Some of the scholars will say that, you know, Abhidhamma already exists during Buddha's time, which, you know, I'm leaning towards that. And then I think Venerable Master Insun also leaning towards that. And I just, you know, who am I? But, you know, I just follow that different scholars' opinion. Because think about that, you know, when Buddha gave sermon, his disciples sometimes, you know, actually many times that will give explanations. And those are the explanations that can be compiled, organized, systemized in a certain way based on either the topic or the timing, or, you know, they have a system of arrange that. So Abhidhamma already exists during Buddha's time. But who chant those Abhidhammas, the commentaries? Now there are one saying that Anuruddha chant that, but then there are also sutras saying that Anuruddha was not the one who chanted it. So it all depends on who says what. But it doesn't matter, it's part of the teaching that helps us to practice. So the second, it's also important that it's 100 years after the Buddha passed away. Why is it important? Now we talk about Theravada, we talk about Savakas, Pacceka Buddhas, we talk about Mahayana, we talk about the Tantric, different divisions, 18 schools at the beginning. After 100 years after Buddha passed away, schism, the first schism of the Buddhist community, and then two important groups separate. One is called the elders group. Okay, it's the Stavirada, Staviravada. I have to get this correct. The other one, to me, it's easier. It's called Mahasangikas. Okay, so it's the vast group with many young monks, or the more small in number, but very reputable, senior monks. So they have different ways. And because the young group, they said that, your 5 Arahant meeting at the time, our teachers are also learning from the Buddha, why they are not being called or involved. So, start with the Vijnana, the schism, but then finally it's not the Vijnana that separate. It's the idea that was separate. But this is 100 years after the Buddha. Okay, so according to Venerable Master Insun, that people really miss the Buddha and his teaching. So they come up with this is what I heard, this is what I heard, this is what I heard. So they go different route. So we will find out, what actually are different from the Theravada and the Mahayana. The third one is also important. It's King Asuka's time. Now we know that he is a great king who support the Buddha's teaching. So at that time, there are two things that it's very important incident that happened. One is the Staviravada, which are the elders. They themselves split. Okay, split into two ways. One is the Savastivadi. The other is the Vipayavada. Okay, so they split into two groups. Then the other important incident is Mahinda, son of Asuka, went to Sri Lanka and established a Buddhist monastery there. That is when what we call nowadays the Theravada tradition began. Now the next one is at Sri Lanka, the 1st century BCE, another assembly was held. Then it's said that in 1871, another one in Burma, and in 1954, the 6th one in also in Myanmar, in Burma. Okay, so those are the Buddhist council. So, excuse me. I make the chart just to show, you know, the two different schools and then their lineages. So we can see that one important thing is the Savasivada. Okay, so from there, if I can't move my, it's on my way, so how do I do it? No.
You trying to shrink the picture?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, I got it. I think it's here. Right?
No, I don't know how to do it on Macs. On
Okay.
Windows, I would tell you to just hold down the control key and spin your mouse wheel, but
okay. But now, can you guys still see the share screen?
Yes, I can.
yeah.
Okay. So you can see the chart, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. So the Savasivadins comes down to another one, and then when you go right, did you see Sutrantika?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So these two, even though Sutrantika, its lineage from the Savasivada, they have a different idea. Okay, especially on the emptiness of the self and the emptiness of the Dhamma. Okay, they have a different idea. So when we go to Staviravada, then you come down and you see the Tamraparnikya, remember? See that, the one in red?
Yep.
Can we see that? Okay.
Yeah.
Then we
Yes.
go down, see the Theravadan school
Yes.
actually from there. Okay, so this one, the Tamrapanitya, it's actually established in where? Yeah, but it's established in where?
Mm.
On the map we were talking about. Who goes there? Remember? Mahinda. Go back one screen. Two things happen, right? So at Asuka's time, so this group is actually established in Sri Lanka. Okay, this group here. So when you see the dotted line, the first part is the first council, second, third, which is the Asuka time. Okay, so send his son to Sri Lanka and then established the Theravadan school. The Sankika group is a little bit more complicated.
So what do the dotted lines represent again?
The first council, the second, the third, the fourth.
Okay.
I take it back. The first line here, the first one above the dotted line, It's the first schism. First schism, second, third, and fourth. So this is the second council, the third, the fourth, the fifth.
Okay.
Do you want me to repeat that again?
So first schism, and then
First schism, second schism, third schism, fourth, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. But this is the second council.
Second.
That's when they split.
So if I understand you correctly, then King Asoka's son came out of the Tamraparniya tradition,
Mhm.
and as he brought it to Sri Lanka, it became Theravada.
Yes,
Okay.
perfect. Okay. Do I expect you to memorize the chart? No. But this is very important information because, you know, from time to time we will refer back to it. So talking about Mahayana, actually Mahayana never referred to a separate set of Buddhism, but rather to the set of idea and doctrines for bodhisattvas. So the main difference about is like, you know, the concept of bodhisattva. So here comes, we have the differences between the Theravada and the Mahayana. Everybody got no handout, no intro for?
yeah, I think it's in Slack if you don't.
Do you want me to show that, or you can just read your note?
I found my own note.
Okay, good. So you see table?
Yes.
Okay. So I put it down like, what are the differences between Theravada and Mahayana? As far as the Buddha, regarding the Buddha, in the Theravada tradition, it says only the historical Gautama or Sakyamuni Buddha and the Bodhisattva and the past Buddha are accepted. That means what?
No more Buddha afterwards.
Okay, that's one way of thinking. So let's go to the right and look at the Mahayana Buddhism. It says, besides Shakyamuni Buddha, other contemporary Buddhas like Amita Buddha, like Medicine Buddha, also exist and also very popular too. So for the Theravadan tradition, they can trace back, you know, who is the Buddha previous to the Buddha. I think there are 17, if I remember correctly. Maybe not. So we can you know, research on that. How many Buddhas, you know, before Gautama or Shakyamuni? Okay, so as far as for the Buddha concerned, there are, you know, differences there. Now for Bodhisattva, no, only Maitreya Bodhisattva is accepted. Why? So who is the Bodhisattva before Maitreya in the Theravadan tradition?
Gautama Buddha?
Yeah. So according to the Theravadan tradition, The Bodhisattva is the Buddha to be. So when we read the Pali Canon, you see, the Bodhisattva doing so and so and so. That means before the Buddha become the Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, then what he did in his past, So we addressed him as the Bodhisattva. Now Maitreya is the Bodhisattva. That means he is going to be the Buddha coming next. Okay? But in the Mahayana tradition, it's different. We have what? We have Manjushri, we have Kidigaba, we have Avalokite, we have, different various Buddha, in addition to Maitreya. So as far as Bodhisattva concerns, that there's a difference in view. Now, their objective of training is to achieve either arahantship or Pacceka Buddha. That is the Theravadan tradition. But in Mahayana, it's become the Buddha. So attain the Buddhahood. So the way to attain Buddhahood is to go through the Bodhisattva path. Okay. Now, how about, here is a misspelling, should be organization. The organization of Buddhist scripture. Now, the way that the Theravadan Buddhism, that Pali Canon, which divided into the 3 baskets, we all know that, okay? Then, on the Mahayana side, it consists of Tipitaka, the discipline, and analysis, which is part of the Abhidhamma, in 12 divisions. Okay, then it would be like, in a way that I should have clipped that because I have that information in my hand. But it's in the Chinese language. So that there is the difference. Okay. Then how about the concept of bodhicitta, Putishin? Okay. So in the Theravadan tradition, it mainly emphasizes self-liberation. So it's totally relying on oneself to eradicate all defilement, which means that nobody can forgive your wrong deeds. You're answerable for your own actions, which means that you have to walk the path yourself. But on the Mahayana side, we have some helps. Okay, we have some helps. Not only that, we help the others too, right? So there is a very slight difference. Again, this is very controversial. When I attended class in Hong Kong U, there was a topic, 2 topics actually, that we have to write essay on. One question is, do you think arahats are selfish? The next question is, do you think that Mahayana sutras are spoken by the Buddha? So those are the very controversial questions that we have to deal with. But fortunately, we're not going to do that here in this class. So, and other topic would be the Trikaya, the 3 body, the concept of the 3 body of the Buddha. Okay. Now, in the Theravada tradition, they very rare discuss that. Okay, they actually perceive the Buddha as another human being, but enlightened. Okay, so it's the Nimana Kaya and the Dhammakaya. Dhammakaya, we understand that they mainly address to the Dhamma that preached or expounded by the Buddha. But then the Mahayana tradition, they actually expanded the idea. And don't forget that the lineage, that's why I said, keep that lineage on mind. Because we think about that, okay, the first council is led by Mahakassapa. It's the elders. And it's 3 months after Buddha passed away. So the teaching is still fresh. The Buddha's image is still fresh in their mind. But then when the Mahayana Buddhism start to surface, it's about what? About almost 100 years after the Buddha passed away. So in the disciples' mind, they haven't been personally seeing the Buddha. So because they missed that figurehead, missed that teaching in person, then the three kayas or trikayas concept comes out. Okay, they don't believe that the Buddha is a person, human person. They said that it's the manifestation of the Buddha when he was alive. So, but the Buddha itself, he never entered, anything like Parinibbana. Okay, it's a different concept. So we have to keep that in mind when we read the Mahayana Sutras. How about the transmission route? So we know that it's from India directly to Sri Lanka, then to Thailand, Burma, Laos, Cambodia, and part of Southeast Asia. And I believe, maybe Singapore and Malaysia also stress very, or put very much importance on the Theravadan teaching. So traveling north, like I said, when we look at the map, it go around to the Middle Asia, then come to Chang'an or Luoyang at the time, okay? So then it's like, and then they go to Tibet, go through Tibet, all that, to China, to Taiwan, Japan, Korea, Mongolia, and some of the Southeast Asia. Language-wise, the Tipitaka is straightly in Pali. And for those, for those who took Pali, that, you know that personally, I understand that it's not an easy language, especially for me. So for the Mahayana side, the Buddhist canon is translated in, the local language. For example, when it comes to Tibet, it was translated into Tibetan, Chinese, Japanese, or any, other languages, especially when it goes through the Middle Asia, then there are Middle Asian languages also. Okay, how about the concept of Nibbana or Nibbana? So there is no distinction between the Nirvana attained by the Buddha or by an Arahat or Pacceka Buddha. So in the Mahayana tradition, it says no, liberation from samsara is the same. Okay, everybody get out of samsara, whether you're Pachaka, Arahat, or you're Buddha. That one is the same. But then the difference is the level of attainment. Okay, so the level of attainment is different. That is why, you know, in a lot of the Mahayana Sutra, even though the term still used in the Pali Canon, but the Anuttara Samyak Sambuddha, remember that? That is the highest, most perfect and complete enlightenment. And that term, in the Mahayana tradition, only addressed the Buddha. Okay. So Shakyamuni's Buddha's disciple, basically historical disciples, whether Arahat or commoner, it says commoners here, is just the you know, people that are not attained the sagehood. But then in the Mahayana tradition, a lot of Bodhisattvas are introduced by the Buddhists, by the Shakyamuni Buddha. Okay, and most of those are not historical figures. For example, let's see, Avalokiteshvara is not a good example. Let me think about an example. I cannot think about an example for the time being, but we'll come back to it later. So how about rituals? So there are some rituals, but not heavily emphasized as in the Mahayana school. So Theravada, they don't emphasize on rituals. Have anybody seen or heard about, you know, what are the rituals in the Theravadan tradition? Not that I can think of. But on the Mahayana tradition, while we emphasize it pretty heavily, okay? I'm thinking about maybe bathing the Buddha, is it a ritual? Maybe we cannot say that. Maybe a venerable can enlighten us with that. So, but in Mahayana tradition, you know, we do it for the deceased. We, you know, especially the tantric, or a lot of rituals. How about using mantras or mudras? So they do have some mantras, especially chanting the mantras in the Theravadan tradition, but not as heavily practiced in the Vajrayana, which is more the Tibetan tradition. Mudras mostly in the Vajrayana, which are the Tibetan tradition. Now the Mahayana, the Chinese tradition, I would say maybe mantras are more. Okay, and then how about dying and death aspect? So Theravadan tradition, very little research and knowledge on the process of dying and death. Now, which tradition emphasized a lot on this? Can anybody tell me? No? Okay, I would say the Tibetan, because, you know, when they after they were born, I think they emphasized a lot on dying. There is a book, it's called Dying the Tibetan Way. I don't know if you guys have read that. So they stress very heavily.
If it makes you feel any better, Kyle actually answered your question in the chat, and he put the states of the bardo after death.
Yeah. Yes. If I can get back to my, how can I, oh, here we go. I'm trying to get back to my screen. Wow. Great job. Okay, so the next one comes the bardo. Did I click it so that, okay. I think I clicked the wrong thing, right?
I don't know what you're trying to do.
I'm trying to get back to that.
If you're trying to go back in your slides, hit the back arrow down at the bottom left-hand corner of the screen or of your slide. Or I think you can hit backspace, but there's a left arrow down at the bottom left-hand corner of the slide.
Okay, I'll get back to that later then.
Okay.
Let's go with go back with the spreadsheet or the Word. Everybody's still on that?
Yep.
We just go over number 13. Number 14 is the bardo. So so in the Theravadan tradition, there is, and I asked I think I asked Venerable Silalanda about this question because when we go to Abhidhamma, it kind of analyzes the thought in counts, like, I don't know how to explain this. The thought will arise and cease, arise and cease. Now, on the dying bed, the last thought, it's what they call the number 16th thought, going into the number 17th thought. Now, at that time, when one of the, one thought, like the dying thought, lasts, the next thought won't come because the person is dying, right? And then with the breath, the one breath stop, the next breath will start. Okay, so that means in between, there's no such thing as going through the bardo stage. But in the Mahayana tradition, especially in the Tibetan tradition, it has sections of the rebirth, okay? Like very commonly, it says 7 days, one turn, the second 7th day, the third, the fourth, the fifth, sixth, and then the 7th of the 7th day, it's the last period. Okay, so there is a life in between. And that in between is actually very, very important. Because in between the death and the next birth of that period, it's going to, that is why, helping chanting is very important. It's going to make some directions for where the next life is going to go. Now, Tibetans even more important for that. But then when my question asked, is that 49 days in between, or is that the next breath? Because the Theravadan would say that one breath stops, the next breath begins. Okay, so, but then I believe I asked either Pante Silalanda or my professor, Professor Anunuda, and his explanation was that because the human being, we're confined in two things. One is the time, because our faculty only realize what's happening within the time or within the space, or both. So with the time thing, we were talking about in our faculty, in our recognition, within the time we said that one breath, the next breath, looks like it's like that, or even shorter than that. But then the 45 days, if we take out the time and space, there is actually no difference. Does it make sense to you guys?
Yeah.
Okay. Those are extras that I want to share. So number 15 is, the practice of one meal a day. That is very commonly followed or observed by the Theravadins. Mahayanan, they respect it, but it all depends on the individual or in different Sangha group. Vegetarian, it's not necessary in the Theravadan tradition because they go out for alms. People, whatever they offer you, you just take it. Theravadan, Mahayanan, a lot of people observe that, okay? But not the Tibetans because of the geographic circumstances. The focus of worship in the temple. So it's very simply laid out. Actually, when the Buddha was alive, he said, don't build any stupas, don't build any statues, don't do that. Because, what they, remember the Diamond Sutra said that, people who pray to me, it's not, it's practicing non-Buddhism. Okay. But, Mahayanan, on the Mahayana side, we do that a lot. So how about number 18, schools or sects of the tradition? Right now, it's one surviving the major school, which is the, when we look at the lineage, okay? Before it was as high as 18. Now, in the Mahayana side, there are 8 majors, okay? So we'll look at that later. But down to when we talk about the theory or mainstreams of thinking, then according to Venerable Master Insun, it's 3 streams. Non-Buddhist influence, mainly pre-Buddhism or Indian, that, we know that. People even say that, Buddhism is part of Brahmin. It's arguable, okay? So, but then we do have a lot of things passed down or similar to the Brahmins, but we, break out from that tradition, or else, the Buddha won't become the Buddha. Now, in China, in the Mahayana tradition, we got so many different influences. Remember the map again, think about the map. It travels through Middle Asia, pick up some tradition there, come to China, pick up, Confucianism, Taoism, different kind of, in Tibet, they even pick up, some of the original Tibetan religion. Japan, okay, you pick up some Japanese traditions. So a lot of influences. And don't forget that in the Theravada tradition, we have what? Prakrit to start with, and go to Sanskrit as a literature written language. We have Pali. That's it. Right? But when you come to China with so many different influences, so many language, China by itself, we have how many dialects? I can't even count. So even though and thanks to the first emperor of China, that he unified the language at the time. So, but then in the ancient Chinese compared to nowadays, more readable Chinese is so different. So, and again, the Buddha nature. Theravada tradition, they don't talk about the Buddha nature. Remember after the schism, Buddha nature, actually, when we look at the three streams, first of all, we know that the Nikaya and the Prajna, the wisdom, and then it comes the Prajna. Actually, Madhyamika actually follows the Prajna very closely because it talk about wisdom, it talk about shunya, which is emptiness, and then Nagarjuna actually follow that very closely. Then it comes to Yogacara and say that no, you're wrong. Your emptiness, it's a false emptiness. So because Nagarjuna said that let's empty the emptiness, but then Yogacara said no. If we empty the emptiness, who is going to go through the rebirth? It doesn't solve the problem, okay? So they said, no. Yogacara said, no, let's establish the eighth consciousness. Then after that, and then the Tathagata will come up and say that, oh, don't worry, everybody's got the Buddha nature. All you know is, and dust it. Okay, so we can see why Venerable Ancient mentioned that Mahayana Buddhism is developmental. So far, any question? Is it a lot to
I have a point, a question.
okay.
That when I was in Cambodia, I saw those people, they have this routine, I don't know, called practice, so their ritual, that they will go to a temple and offering a lot of food and money at the table. So after they offer all that, they were able to sit in front of a monk or the monk that they choose. Then the monk will give them some discourse. I don't know what it's called. It's like a teaching them what has to be done, what is right. And it's being done by so many Cambodians. They have so many temples. Do you call that as a ritual too?
So every tradition is different. At the, I cannot even call them Theravadan or Mahayana. I would say that it's their local tradition bring into Buddhism. Because think about, if we're talking about Theravadan, they cannot keep money, right? Everything is belong to the monastic, to the monastery, and then they can offer food, but again, it's at alms time. So I don't quite understand, because if it's Theravadan tradition, they have to go around for alms round, and they cannot choose and pick that, oh, okay, you offer me, I can give you this course.
I see. But
Yeah.
my friend who went back, I went back to Cambodia with her. Of course, she went back to visit her parents' graveyard. And then their tradition was when a person died, they would go through this their process, their tradition, and that involves a monk that would, or a group of monks will do some kind of things for them. I don't know if we call that ritual as well. But after that, they're supposed to go back every year, if they can, to the same monk, and then to seek for guidance. But at that time, they do have to offer something to that monk. And I saw she was offering envelope. Then I would say there will be money in it.
My perception is, if we offer to the monastic, it's out of respect, okay? Not because they do something for us and we offer. That's my understanding. Maybe Venerable Kongshi would share with us. Kongshi Shifu.
Okay. It's just different traditions of offering. We do not know what other monastery are having their teachings and their way of doing, so we cannot really comment on those. It's up to the students also, how they want to make offering to their teachers, and also their teacher have they're acceptable or not. It's up to them. So we really do not know how other traditions are doing.
If I remember correctly, when I attend the meditation, and I think, Lisa, you do that too. When you go to Goenka's meditation center, if you're a new student, they don't even take your donation, right?
Yes, they don't. You have to be a student first, complete the course first.
Yes, you have to be a student. And that is actually not for any teacher, because, as far as I remember in the discourse, Goenka Ji said that, there is no, how do you say it? The Dhamma is priceless. You cannot, saying that, I go for the teaching and then I collect. That's not the right way of doing it. But you do want to donate because you want, people to be able to maintain the facility, to be able to serve, to be able to spread the teaching. So that is a different mindset.
Yes, actually the Buddhism, you do not ask for money or anything, donations, because your teaching is the support to the center is to be used for the continuations of the center, and also so that it can be spread the Dhamma. Otherwise, if the center do not get any donations, how the center can be survived?
Yeah, exactly.
But you do not require or ask that you have to. It's up to individual who are able to support or not. You know,
Right.
like Maba, when people come to the teachings on Sunday, you do not say you have to give a certain amount of donation. Even
No.
during the retreat, we said suggested donation means that, you know, those are to, you know, so that we can pay for electricity, we can pay for the food, you know, and all those things. And it's not required, you know, people who cannot afford, they don't have to. It's not like you cannot come to the teaching, you don't receive any because you don't, you know, give any money.
Yes, yes. So I think a lot of the traditions are like in China, you know, they have the Chinese tradition. In Japan, they have the Japanese tradition. So people are kind of mix and mingle it together. So, you know, so it's sometimes it's a thin line to differentiate Buddhist or non-Buddhist. But I think the most important is that, and I want to bring this up, okay. First of all, what do we need to do according to the Buddhist teaching? First of all, we have to know or associate with the wise, right? Then we listen to the Dhamma. Then we think about it, investigate it. Then we practice accordingly. Okay, those are the 4 conditions, you know, in or ways of practice. Then within the 4, first of all, we associate with the wise. That means, you know, not to that person, but to what he or she is teaching. Okay. Then, second of all, the listening to the Dhamma has to be the righteous Dhamma. Okay. And then we have to think about it, and then we have to, when we investigate it, we have to know that whether this is the conventional or ultimate. Then when we practice, okay, when we practice, then we have to know that what we are practicing, is it according to the teaching, according to what we can do. I have met a lot of people saying that, you know, I'm going to get enlightened in this life. So it's a good goal to set, but is it reachable? You know, we have to do self-assessment. And, you know, those are the things that as a Buddhist, as a disciple or student, we have to really put some effort into thinking about it. Okay, let's get back to the schools. We finished the difference between the Theravada and Mahayana. Pay more attention to that. Okay, so go back a little bit. One more.
I have a question before you go further.
Okay.
Because the differences on those 2 are so many, do you expect us to memorize them all?
No, I would say that, you know, maybe pick, there are about 18 of them, right? Maybe, you know, 9 or 10 that are really important. So if I were going to set up a question, I say that, you know, compare Theravada with Mahayana, you know, set 9 examples that you think that is important and why. So would that work?
But everyone thinks differently. Maybe I'll pick the 10 that's different from others, would that matter?
Doesn't matter. As long as it's within that 18 category.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And then you have to say why, you know. Okay, the next one is the Buddhism. Let's go to Buddhism in China now. So when we start, it starts with a dream. Who said that? I had a dream. Actually, the emperor of the Han said that I had a dream before Martin Luther King Jr. So he actually had a dream that started Buddhism in China. True or false?
True.
Okay. Anybody say that it's false?
It should be true because you put it out on your slide.
Yeah, it is true. According to the Buddhist history, but that is not, remember the question? That is the first time that Buddhism came to China. Actually, Buddhism or the Buddhist teaching came before that. Okay. But that is the time, that was when actually people pay attention, because, you know, it's the emperor who ordered that. The teaching of Buddhism actually came as early as the first emperor, Qin. Okay, the Qin dynasty. Not the Qing, but the Qin, Qin Cao. But nobody pay attention to it, okay? But, you know, we don't pay attention to that also. We start with the dream of the emperor. So here are the topics: the dream of the emperor, Buddhism in China, translations, and also the Chinese Tipitakas. So I have a note saying the handout note, intro 2. Everybody got that?
Yep.
Good. So we go to that note, and just briefly, you know, introduced to China after the Han Emperor Han Mingdi, and then I put the date there. Dreamed of a flying golden deity, and then he interpreted that it's a vision of the Buddha. So he dispatched some missionary to go to India, returned with the sutra, the first sutra. It's 42章经, the 42 sections. Okay, that is the first one. Not Agama, not, you know, any other scriptures, but, you know, the 42 sections, which was disposed outside the capital of Luoyang. So at the time, Chang'an or Xi'an is not the capital, it's Luoyang, okay? So then after that, Buddhism came to China gradually, primarily through the Central Asia, and then later on through the Silk Road. And then, you know, there are 2 Silk Roads, everybody knows that, right? One from the north, one from the south. Okay, the south is the Seaway. The north is through Central Asia. So it becomes the most important religion in China. It actually profoundly influenced on traditional Chinese culture and thoughts. So you know, I put out the period actually. I don't remember where did I get that information. Oh, anyway, so it starts with the Han Dynasty with the dream of the emperor. It's in the White Horse Temple, very famous. If you have visited Luoyang, have to go to this temple, one of the oldest one. Then, actually, in the North Southern Dynasty, Jin Wei, what we call it's Wei Jin Nan Bei Cao. Okay, at the North Southern Dynasty, that is when Buddhism start to flow in like crazy. And that time, one very important figure that two. Well, I'll say three then. One is the Wu Di, Liang Wu Di, okay, at that time. The other one is Bodhidharma. The third one is Kumarajiva. So those three people, of course, there are others, but those three make a significant difference in Buddhism. And then the next period will be the Sui Cao, okay. Then next one would be Tang Cao, the Tang Dynasty. Then it spread all over, from China to Taiwan to Japan to Korea, Southeast Asia to Vietnam. So that was a very, very glorious time, or what they call the golden age of Buddhism in China at the time. So for translation, like I just mentioned, mostly are from Sanskrit, but a lot of them also from the Central Asia language also, okay? But mainly they're translated into the ancient Chinese scripts. Then the Agama, a lot of them were thinking they are straightly from Sanskrit, but some of them actually they find out, from the leftovers or relics, that some of them are actually from Pali, so not necessarily all are from Sanskrit. I'm talking about the Agamas, okay? So after Han Dynasty, because the political instability, people were suffering. Now, in Han Dynasty, Confucianism dominates. That because Han is falling, fading, and different small kingdoms or power generals, warriors, they began to occupy different regions. So the politically, it's very unstable at the time. So Confucianism doesn't quench the thirst of people's spiritual need, because, unfortunately, like nowadays with the virus going on, the mind is so unsettled. Then people seek for spiritual help. So Confucianism doesn't work anymore. So who do they turn to? They turn to Taoism. Why? Because Taoism propagate that, you have to cool down, 清静, quiet too. You have to doing nothing, whatever happened in the outside, and you just stay steady. So that kind of idea gets into people's mind at that time. So when Buddhism came in, there's no way to make people understand what is prajna, what is, emptiness. So they have to adapt the Taoist language. A lot of the scriptures were transferred using the Taoist terms at the time, until Kumarajiva's team comes out, especially Zheng Sao, they came out and say that no, we are not going to let people misunderstand the concept of emptiness. We're not going to use the Taoism language or terms anymore. So it's just like a revolutionary action on the translation at that time. And of course, it stirred up a lot of puddle of muds. But then it's very important. It's necessary to do that, okay? Because when we talk about quietude, Buddhism's quietude is different from the Taoism quietude. There's no way they can match, okay? Like the Wu Wei, in the term, Wu Wei means doing nothing, just stay still. But Wu Wei in Buddhism means unconditional. So we cannot use that kind of term to interpret, especially when it comes to prajna. So the Chinese Tipitaka, the canon. So there are a number of Buddhist texts that grows, larger and larger, that was introduced to China. Now we can refer to like the record of Han. Remember the Buddhism, the scripture came from during the Han Dynasty, and it was edited by, he's not a monk, but a scholar. His name is Zhu Zixing, okay? Then the next one would be the catalog of all sutra, and very important monk called Dao An. Very capable, very important. So that's in the Jin dynasty. But unfortunately, both of those translations does not survive. They're lost. Then it comes Liang Wudi, the emperor. Remember when he talked to Bodhidharma, what happened? Anybody know about that? When he talked to Liang Wudi, because Liang Wudi, the emperor of Wu, Emperor Wu of Liang actually built a lot of temples, actually a big supporter of Buddhism at his time. So he asked Bodhidharma, do I accumulate any merits? Then Bodhidharma said no. So he sent him away. So that we can refer back to that story later on. So he was one of the very, very strong supporters. He collected, or he himself, not he himself, but he ordered to collect a total of 5,400 scrolls of the text, okay, in his royal garden. And then another, this is a monk, a Buddhist monk, Bao Cang. Okay, he compiled the catalog of the sutra. So here are some history during the Qin dynasty. Now comes the Tang dynasty. Tang dynasty, after the south-northern period of time, we don't call it dynasty at the time because they have various different small kingdoms in the north and then a lot of kingdoms in the south. So during the time China is chaos, people like brothers would kill brothers for the position, sons will kill father, it's very chaos. Now when Tang Dynasty, when the Li Emperor unified China and then started the Tang Dynasty, then because emperor in the Tang Dynasty with the last name Li, are you there? with the last name Li. And the founder of Taoism, the last name is Li also. So they claim that they are the lineage from the Taoism, from the founder. So Buddhism was not being positioned in the mainstream, okay? But even that, you know, even that's the case, they still support, and they do not go ahead and destroy, you know. So Tang Dynasty during the period of the Tang, then Buddhism still flourish and survive. So then in during the 2000 years of history, then Buddhism actually witnessed the number of texts increasing during the process of translation. So it came from either the Central East or directly from India. So they keep on adding and adding and adding, because a lot of people are traveling in and out, in and out, in and out. Okay. So in Song Dynasty, which is after Tang Dynasty, the Song and Liao Dynasty, they actually, you know, canonized. The texts were canonized, they compiled together 8 times. The Yuan Dynasty 2 times, and then Ming 5 times, Qing Dynasty 3 times. But not only in China, but in other places like Korea, they compiled the texts, the Buddhist texts into canon, into Tipitaka 3 times, 8 times in Japan. So all these outside of China, almost all of them were transmitted and translated from the Chinese canon. So the Tipitaka in China developed initially was about 5,000 scrolls into 10,000, double, okay? So aside from the increase of the Chinese translation in the text from Sanskrit, compilers over the years also continue to add new Buddhist commentaries. For example, the one that we study, the mind script. Remember, we studied the mind script before. The mind script is actually into, you know, added into the canon also. So people make commentaries and they also add into the canon. Now the first stone calf is called Fang San Shi Jing. Okay, it's called Fang San Stone Tipitaka. It's actually by a monk named Jing Wan. Now what happened is, because the political instability, then he was afraid that the scriptures will be burned, which happened before, or destroyed. So he was following his teacher's footprint and tried to carve it in a grotto. It takes like more than 1,000 years to complete 5 dynasties. Okay. How about beginning of the woodblock printing? That is in the year of 971, the first emperor of Song Dynasty, Song Taizhu, okay, ordered it to carve the Tipitaka into a wood block. Now, let's see. The carving took 12 years to complete and used 130,000 pieces of wood block for the 5,048 volumes. Okay, then it was sent to another city called Kaifeng for printing. See, in 1971, it was introduced it to Korea. So if we're talking about how Chinese canon influenced the Asian Asian country Buddhism, we can actually from time to time from history that's happening, not just one or two times, it's gradually, continuously. 1278, the Yuan dynasty, how do you say it? Chinese is Hu Bieli, okay? That emperor, remember he conquers almost all of Europe at the time. Then he was, there was a Tipitaka carved in a temple during his time in Hangzhou, where Jay came from, Hangzhou. Maybe Jay visited the temple before. So let's see, what are the more important things? More recently, okay, Ming Dynasty. We have the Hongwu Nanzhuang. That is the southern Hongwu edition of the canon. It consists of 1,600 sutras, over 700 scrolls in 678 boxes. Okay, Qing Dynasty. This is more recent. It's called the Dragon Tipitaka. Again, a lot. Okay. Then it comes to Japan. Takakusu in 1866, and also the other one called Kyoku, 1872 to 1933, organized and facilitated Buddhist publishing society. Okay, and collect and edited, revise the complete Tipitaka in the Chinese language. And it's now what we saw from time to time called Da Zhang Jing. Okay, so it was actually published in 34. And it consisted of 3,439 sutras into 13,500 scrolls with 80,064 pages in 84 boxes. Okay, so it goes on and goes on and goes on. Now, you don't have these 3 paragraphs in your notes. And after the class, I will repost all what, all the work, the files on Slack, so that, if you miss something, you can compare or maybe add it into what you have right now. So the Mahayana Buddhism that developed in East Asia and Southeast Asia countries, mostly based on the Chinese canon. So you see how big influence it is, especially Japan, Korea, and Vietnam. It is also significant influence in some of the region in the Southeast Asia country like Singapore, Malaysia. And when many monastic monks migrate to these countries, okay, like Master Jiru teacher, our grand teacher, Zhu Mo Fa Shi, actually from China, went to Malaysia. So after the Communist Party took over mainland China, a lot of the Buddhist monks and nuns fled from mainland to Taiwan. So Buddhism took root in Taiwan now and flourished tremendously in the Formosa Islands. Or in Taiwan, it's almost, right now is the basis for Buddhism. Now, many Buddhist groups like Foguangshan, we know that, right? Like Fagushan, compiled and published, especially Foguangshan, they have their own Buddhist dictionary and Tipitaka. So commentaries and Buddhist texts are taught and published among all, in Taiwan. Most influential and most important is author. One of the most, I should say, one of the most influential and very important is by Venerable Master Ancients Miao Yunji. Do you guys need a break? Too many information?
Yeah, we got a lunch at 11:30, so
11:45.
11:45 now. Okay.
Yeah, because I switched changed the schedule a little bit because I have to get off at 4.
Okay. So it's up to you. Yeah, we could take a few minutes.
Yeah, 11:45, and then come back at 1:15. Would that be okay with it? Well, yeah, I don't have class today, but I have class tomorrow after at 4 o'clock. So that's why I said instead of Saturday this time, Sunday that time. So I just just put it together and say that let's stop at 11:45 and then start at 1:15.
That's fine.
I
I missed that.
It's on the schedule.
Yeah.
On the spreadsheet.
Yeah, I totally missed it. So
I'm so glad you bring it out. Okay, let's take how about 10 minutes break this time?
Okay.
Okay. 11:05.
So 11:15.
15. Okay.
Okay.
See you guys in a bit. Oh, I see it now.
Whoever the user iPad is, could you let me know your name so that we can document it properly for attendance?
Okay. Are we all back?
Yep.
Okay, I'm actually looking at the questions on the chat. Very interesting. At the end of today, we will have a discussion, and some of our questions are very good actually here. So we will have the discussion. We can, maybe start to answer some of the questions posted on the chat. That be okay?
Sure.
Good. So I know there is a lot of information, but this is just the beginning. As far as for the history part, it would be unfair to ask you to memorize, from the, all those collections of the texts or the scriptures. But at least we have to understand that when did it come from? Why did it, why Chinese people China start to bring in the Buddhist texts? What is the reason? Like, legendarily, it begins with the emperor's dream, right? And then why is it, flourish in China? Why Buddhism flourish in China? We can say that because of the political issues, because of the different school of thoughts like Confucianism and Taoism, and then we can go into a little bit of the translations. But when later on, when we go into the different schools, we will be able to find out a little bit more where these texts and why is it some of the portion, why Nikaya or Agama was neglected in the first place, and then we can go on and go on as we, the course goes along. So we will come to that part gradually. I mean, it's a lot to climb in within 2 months, but we'll do the best we can. So the next one would be I think we have passed that. Okay, right now would be one screen. Okay. I found the information from, I think it's a website called the Buddha Net. They listed the 10, actually commonly it says the 8 schools of Buddhism. Remember we have the 18th school in India. You guys already took that class, right? did you go over the 18 schools, different
No.
schools in India?
No, we did not cover all of that.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm thinking. But it's not in this course. Oh, don't worry about that then. Let's
Right.
focus on the eight schools in China then. Okay, here are the schools. It listed 10, but you know, some of them are actually not Mahayana Buddhism. Okay, so if you see, did you see the chart here? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good. So 1 and 2, it's Theravadan. So, you know, from 3 onward to 10, it's Mahayana. Okay. The 1 is the Abhidhamma Kosa school, or what they call the Kosa school. Okay. Then the next one is the another school. It's called Chen Shi Lun. Okay. So those are the 2 schools that influence the Mahayana Sutras a lot. They are both analytical schools. Abhidhamma, we know that, right? You break the thing down into very detail. So then it comes based on the Prajna Paramita. It comes with the 3 Sastra or Sanlun school, okay? And this one is later what we currently classified as the Madhyamika, or the school of emptiness. Then comes the Tian Tai school, or what we call the Lotus school. Okay, the Lotus school expound or teaches 2 core concepts. One is the middle path. The other one is actually the Buddha nature. Okay, so it belongs to the Madhyamika and the Tathagata Gaba. The next one is the Huayan, or the flower ornament. Okay, the garland of flower ornament. It is straightly the Tathagata Gaba. Then it comes with, then the next one is Chanzong, which is the Chan school. Believe it or not, it's also the Tathagata Gaba core teaching. Now, the next one is the discipline of Vijnana. So Vijnana is by itself, because it's just the precept, the sila, the rules, the disciplines. Number A is called the mantra school, as taught esoteric. Now this one mainly practiced in Tibet. Okay, so but it also consists of the idea of Tathagata Gaba. Number 9 is called the Dhamma Lasana. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's actually it's the school of Yogacara, okay, or the Fa Xiang Yogacara. So number 10 is the Jingtu, the Pure Land school. No, Pure Land is also Tathagata Gaba. So you can see the stream of thinking in China, or nowadays in the Buddhist sector. A lot of them including Master Tai Xu. Okay, they also, you know, how do you call it? They also practice, or I hate to use the word believe. You know, in the idea of Tathagata Gaba. Venerable Master In Sun, even though a student of Master Tai Xu, he's more leaning towards the Madhyamika. Okay. Yogacara, there are a very well-known teacher. He's actually my teacher also. Li Rensen, and I use a lot of his texts on the Yogacara school too. Okay, but he's from another very good teacher called Luo Sixian. So there is a lineage from there. Okay. Do I expect you to remember that? I would say yes. Because this is actually pretty important, that the reason why that I don't like to transfer my file from a PC to the Mac is that the font, I always mess up with the font. Anyhow, okay, these are the 10 schools. It's just a list. Okay, you can go and correct the font, or I'll correct it and I'll repost it. So because I cannot, read my small screen, I have to go to my other computer. Okay, there we go. So the 8 schools start with the Kosa school. Here are the points for that. Okay, so it's founded by Vasubandhu, translated into China by Xuan Song, and commentary by this person. Then the key point is the way to liberate oneself is by study and practice the Four Noble Truths. So this school teaches Theravadan Buddhism. It is popular in China during the Tang Dynasty. Okay. And then the other one, Satisai school, then it's based on a sutra, and then Sastra, I'm sorry, is based on the Sastra, and it's the commentary is by this person called Harivarman in the 4th century AD, translated by Kumarajiva, and then it flourished during the 6th dynasty and Tang dynasty. Now it teaches to look up the cosmos in realms, the worldly realm and the supreme realms. It's got a lot of influence during that time, the specific time, but then it kind of faded away. So as far as for meditation, it's said to meditate on unreality of the self. That means, you meditate on the non-self part of it. Okay. So the next one is the Sanlun Zhong, the 3 sastras. Now, three sastras, the three are actually composed by Madhyamika Sastra and the 12 Gate Sastra. So those two are composed by Nagarjuna or authored by Nagarjuna. And then the third one is called the Sakta Sastra, which is the 100 commentary by Nagarjuna's disciple, Aryadeva. And then it's been translated by Kumarajiva. So the main teaching is to dispose of the 8 misleading ideas like birth, death, the end, permanence, identity, difference, coming and going, to establish the correct thinking. So when you see this sentence, what do you think? Dispose the 8 misleading ideas like birth and death, end and permanence, identity and difference, coming and going. When you see this sentence, what comes up to your mind? Any idea?
Is it the 3 existence, Mark?
Let's see. 3 existence, Mark. No, not in this sense. See if anybody answer that.
Josh put something in the chat that you should not cling to the idea of non-dualism.
Getting close. Very good. I would say the 2 extremes. So what is the teaching here? Not clinging to the 2 extremes. So
Middle way, middle path?
yes. Okay, it's actually teaching the middle path here. Very good. So, like I said, Masa Insun actually leaning very much towards, he himself said it in his book. I think The Way to Buddhahood also mentioned it about that. Okay. Then the next one is the Lotus Sutra. Like I said before, that if we want to talk about the Lotus Sutra, we cannot avoid talking about Tentai school. And then if we talk about Tentai school, we cannot neglect Zhi. Okay, but since we're going to go to study that, so I did not put any further comment on that. So the next one is the Huayan school or the Avatamsaka school. Okay. 2 schools in the Chinese Buddhism are very well known and also make significant difference. One is the Tentai school. The other one is this about Avatamsaka school. Why? Because Zhi Yi of the Tentai and Fa Zhang of the Avatamsaka school, they categorize Buddha's teaching in a way that according not only chronologically, but also, the importance of the faculty of each practitioner. Okay, so those are the two schools are very well known in Chinese Buddhism. So I won't go over that. We can just read that. Chan School. Chan School, we know that how big of an influence, not only in China, but around the world, not only in Asia, right? So it started with the Bodhidharma, in the Liang dynasty, passed to Huineng, the sixth patriarch. Then at the beginning, Bodhidharma was based on, gave Huike, the second patriarch, 4 scrolls of the Lankalavata Sutra. Okay. Then after the 5th patriarch, Seng Can, switched the Lankalavata Sutra to the Diamond Sutra. Okay. Both of them are the idea of Tathagata Gaba. Okay, then the discipline school, one of the well-known representative, and it's in the recent years, of course he passed away. I mean, recent, like within 200 years, that was Master Hong Yi. Okay. So this school is more practiced by the Tibetan practitioner, and those are the sutras that they base in. They have their own way of teaching that, again, it's not, within the scope. Okay, here we go. The Dhamma Lasana or Fa Xiang school, it's actually the Yogacara school. So here are the sutras or sastras they base on. The first one, Sanhi Nimokshana Sutra, that we're going to study. Abhidhamma Sutra, that we are not going to study, but we study the Abhidhamma Kosa Sastra. The Yogacara Bhumi Sastra, very well known, a lot. Volumes after volumes, okay? It took Miao Yun, Miao Jing, Master Miao Jing, 3-4 years just to give one discourse. Then the other one, another sastra. This one I'm not familiar with, but since we're not going to go over it, so oh, actually, I take it back. I apologize. This is actually part of the Cheng Wei Shi Lun, okay? But it named differently. This is Cheng Wei Shi Lun. So the first patriarch founder is the Maitreya. Now, people were saying that, and a lot of study on that. Maitreya, is it the Maitreya Buddha, the future Buddha, or is it somebody in India called Maitreya? So people are still arguing that. Now, because that Maitreya is going to become the next Buddha, so commonly it's leaning towards it is the Maitreya future Buddha that that taught this school, and then followed by Asanga Vasubandhu, Dhammapala, all these very important figures. Then before Xianzang, it is considered, well, actually before Xianzhang, the school is more leaning towards the name of Yogacara, called mere consciousness. But after Xianzhang, we call it the Faxiang, the Dhamma Lasana school. So it's more towards how do you say it? The appearance of the Dhamma in a way. But we will see. I have to go back my screen because yeah. Okay, before Xianzhang, it's even not named the mere consciousness, but the Bhumi. It's based on the Yogacara Bhumi Sastra, one chapter of that. And that chapter is called the 10 Bhumi chapter. Okay. So Xianzhang actually translate many of the Yogacara Sutras, and based on these sutras and commentaries to compile the Cengwei Shilun. Okay. So the main sutta or main texts of the Faxiang school is the 30 verse of Vasubandhu and also Xianzhang's Cengwei Shilun. So Xianzhang is actually considered the founder of the Faxiang school, and followed by his two great disciples, Yuan Ce and Kui Ji. Kui Ji is actually the penman, who the recorder of Xianzhang's translation. So next one is the Pure Land. Pure Land, they have three very important texts. One is called the Long Discourse of the Infinite Life Sutra. The Short Discourse on the Infinite Life Sutra, and the Amitabha Buddha Sutra. Okay, three of them. But then they have a practice text. It's called the Bo Zhou San Mei. It's not listed here. I don't think it's listed here. Okay. So all these 8 or 10 schools, Venerable Master Insun narrow it down to nowadays there are 3 streams of ideas or thinkings or philosophies. One of them is called the School of Emptiness, or the Madhyamika. It's like empty nature, only name only. So that's the middle way. The concept begins as early as the first schism, So the Madhyamika concept started it as early as the first schism. Remember when they split the elders and the young group? So number 2 is the school of Yogacara. So everything is false, but mere consciousness. Okay. Number 3 is the Tathagata Garbha, the Buddha nature. So following, it would be, we would go over each of the 3 schools because we have only 1 minute to go. So let's pick it back up after lunch. Would that be all right?
Sure.
Okay, good. So have a good lunch.
And we are to return at what time?
1:15.
Okay.
Normally it's 1:30, but I moved 15 minutes earlier.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
We'll see you guys in a minute. Bye.
Okay.
Hey,
Bye.
see you. Have a good lunch.
Yes, you guys too.
Thank you.
Fran, I'm going to make you the host if that's okay. Okay.
Me?
Unmute. I'm good.
Oh, okay.
So I'll be back pretty quick. I'll get with you, Fran, later on getting your copy of the recording since I'm missing a section. Since I
Stop
forgot to
recording.